Mandi Pour Rafsendjani. Looking forward to hearing your voice. I know it's late. Did you take an energy drink a few hours ago, Mandi, my friend?
Energy drink. I just cut off my webinar training with my group, so I'm still fired up.
All right. So, you know, I've been looking forward to this interview for a while. You see the screenshot, the share screen option?
I see it. I'm not quite sure what you want me to share, though.
Oh, well, you know, if you wanted to share charts, if not, we could talk about things and I could share my charts. So that's fine. It can be this type of audio. So let me just share my chart.
No, I share my chart. I'm happy. I love sharing my chart. Let me share my chart. So
yeah, it just says screen share and then which screen, just in case you wanted to talk about what you're seeing in a few instruments. The picture speaks without words. There you go.
Can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Got it. Yes, Mandi. So, Mandi, thanks for taking time. It's great to meet you, and this is my first opportunity. Thank you so much, Mandi, and it's my first opportunity to interview you. We had some fun over Twitter, and it seems like we're both trading psychiatrists and trying to help people, put them on the couch and, you know, see what they're doing emotionally, psychologically to sabotage themselves. And the only reason we know that is possibly we've seen it in others or ourselves. But you know what, I'd like to start with this, Mandi. How did you get into the business? So why don't you tell us a little bit about the beginning of your journey? Who influenced you? Did you have a mentor? Was it a key book or author? Tell us about the start of your journey in the trading industry.
Oh, I really don't like to go back there. You know, it was so painful.
Okay. Well, you know what? We learn. Others learn. You know, a lot of people, most people I talk to, Mandi, I ask them, how long did it take before you had epiphanies or breakthroughs in trading? And, you know, most people come into it with unrealistic expectations. The standard answer I get is about 4 years before, you know, that much screen time before people start believing in themselves that they can actually extract money from the market. But you know what? A lot of people think that they're the only ones when they start off going through, you know, a painful process trying to learn a new skill. And it's actually helpful for people to know that traders that are now doing well in the business actually went through the same thing or maybe even worse than what they're going through too. It kind of makes them feel like they're not a failure, but that it's just part of the learning curve.
Who knows, maybe they're a failure. So,
well,
yeah, you know, it's starting off very confrontational. I like that. So how I got into trading was I'm German, in case you were wondering about my accent, and I lived in Hong Kong for 5 years, and then I met an Aussie guy and moved to Australia. And in Hong Kong, I was quite successful running my own business, and I solidly identified myself through my business success, my funky mobile phone. There wasn't even Apple, wasn't even, no one even knew that Apple existed at the time. And so iPhones and, you know, my funky flat. And when I came to Australia, also when you live as a Caucasian in an Asian country, you are already different just by the way you look, right? So when I came to Australia, I didn't have this privilege anymore of being different and being special and being paid an enormous amount of money just because I had a different color of skin, you know, I came from a different country. And so I kind of was lost here. I hated Australia and I missed Hong Kong, everything about Hong Kong, and tried to make friends, couldn't really find any friends. And so went to the gym.
What an adjustment period.
Yeah, it was hard. It was all worth it though in hindsight. And so I went to, I saw this flyer in the gym saying a night of success, free seminar. I thought, free seminar, maybe I meet people there. My partner at the time, he was working night shift, so he was doing shift working, he was in IT. And so I was on my own anyway, so I went to this seminar, and for the first time in my life, I heard about the wonderful world of wealth creation. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I never knew that existed. And so shortly after, I worked for Siemens, a German company. I found a job there. So when I got my work permit, but then I was hooked. And a work colleague gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay. And then I went to a seminar. It was called Wealth Accelerator Principles. It was in the year 2000. And it was a 3-day seminar, covered trading, property, and business. And I had no clue. I was so fresh. I thought, there's this wonderful world out there that I've never heard of. And I paid for a seminar. I was able to get my partner at the time excited as well to join me. And those guys said, look, if it is all too hard for you, give us your money and we will invest it for you. Very naive as I was, you know, I went to the bank, got a $10,000 loan and gave them my money. And you know how the story ended. They disappeared to America. So if you guys find him somewhere in America, please let me know. I'll hunt him down for my $10,000. It was a very good experience. And
yeah, so you had like a lot of people, and Mandi, that's a great example because, you know, that's why our industry has grown, in my opinion, that after the 2000 dot-com crash and then the financial market crash in 07, 08, people started saying, you know what, if I'm going to lose money, I'm going to do it myself, okay? And they wanted to learn skills to become self-directed. Therefore, the boom in trading education, etc. So you learned that lesson early. So that's great. I did. Yeah.
And lucky, because that was the very thing that got me into trading. So you know the story about the farmer who found this beautiful horse, this beautiful stallion, and the people in the village say, oh, that's really good luck. And the farmer says, well, good luck, bad luck, who knows? You know the story, right? And so it's always, we don't know if it is good luck or bad luck, what happens. It's always, whatever happened in my life, I had the mindset of, and I didn't know that at the time, right? I know that looking back at it, that whatever happens, I just find a way to make the most and the best out of it. Even something that seemed bad luck, I was determined to turn that into something that will end up as a good luck for me. And it was the same thing with this one. So I went back to the event organizers and I said, hey, you know, I paid you good money, and the guy pissed off with my money on top. And what have you got? And I said, well, you can attend another seminar for free. We can't get you your money back, but it's equal value for what you paid for the seminar. And that was an options trading seminar. And so this is how I got into trading. I then discovered options trading, and I never saw myself as a trader. I never saw myself as someone who was smart with money. Looking at my family dynamics, my brother was the one, or still is the one, who was like super successful, and he was the intelligent, the smart one, and I was the nice one, you know, the one that people liked, but I wasn't considered as smart or successful. And that defined me, you know, throughout my life. And even though looking back now, running my own business in Hong Kong is quite successful, at the time I didn't see myself as being successful. So
well, that was your paradigm. So you know, they say, like, I don't know if you ever watch guys like Robert Proctor, but you know, by the time we're 3 years old, when we're completely open before our ego, everything we hear around us we take as gospel, and that's who we become until we recognize what we've been fed and begin to reprogram our software. So losing that 10 grand and going into the options market created a new paradigm for you, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, and of course, like everyone did, and look, that was in the year 2002 or 2001, I believe. I have to double check because I can't really remember. It was around 2000, 2002. I think it was 2002. So of course, like everyone else, I thought I had found the holy grail in trading, and I thought that I'm going to have a Ferrari in front of my door, you know, within 6 months, and that was it. And people warned me, you know, they said to me, the biggest challenge that traders have is being disciplined, and I said, look, I'm German. We have invented discipline. I did not believe them. Yeah, seriously, that's what I said to them. I'm German. I know how to follow rules, right? Because this is what we are famous for. For some weird reason, it didn't work out like that in my trading.
Yes.
So,
yes. Rules can be broken when money's on. Yeah, it seems like money can pollute everything. So, all right. So you went through an experience of being undisciplined in your trading, and we know what happens then. So, how did you learn to be disciplined, as I'm sure you are now?
Yeah. So, of course, I first went through the round of learning every discipline under the sun. I studied Elliott Wave, I studied GAN, I studied, you name it, I've studied it. And at the time when I started, there was no internet. You know, I had to go to seminars and buy books. Fancy that. No one buys books anymore, right? So, and then a friend of mine said, look, this trading guru, he went to Landmark Education. This is what changed his trading. And I didn't know anything about personal development at that time, I have to admit. And I thought, Landmark Education, what's that? And I was at the point where I was willing to do anything. I had to crack this thing with trading. I was so determined, and I was very neurotically determined, very unhealthy. And so I guess that makes me a good coach today, because I was like the epitome of how not to be as a trader and what personality one has who fails as a trader. So I went to Landmark, and for the first time I was confronted with, wow, there might be some areas in my life that I need to clean up. And so this is where my journey into personal development, into personal discovery started, really. And then I did the same thing. I did all the seminars under the sun. I did, you know, the whole Tony Robbins courses, all the Landmark courses, anything I could find in terms of personal development, I did. I became a life coach, accredited life coach, not necessarily to coach, but because I wanted to figure myself out. I wanted to find out what was the very thing that stopped me from becoming successful in trading. And, you know, the way I looked at myself was, what is wrong with me? What is the one thing that I need to fix in order to succeed? And you and I, we both know this is the very thing that kept me stuck in not succeeding. So,
yeah, trying to find out what it was.
Finding out what this was that was wrong with me, rather than looking at
what was right with you.
What is right with me.
Yes.
And so,
okay. Yeah.
And there was a very good reason why I had to look at myself in that manner, because family dynamics, I was the scapegoat, the black sheep in my family. And please don't misunderstand me. I had a really healthy, safe upbringing. I was never abused. Was always fed. Good middle class family, but my emotional needs weren't met. And I see that almost everyone goes through that, right? I mean, show me one person who hasn't been screwed up in their upbringing. It's just, you know, not possible.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I married into an already made family. And before I got married, my stepdaughter said to me, Dale, do you think you could handle our dysfunctional family? And I said, oh, yes, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we all had some dysfunction. So really having a good self-image and having self-worth translates into better trading, rather than focusing on and forgiving ourselves possibly for our shortcomings and focusing on our strengths and finding the trading style that suits our personality, that we're strong with, right?
Yeah, and at the time I didn't know any of that, and again, there was no internet. I figured it out piece by piece by myself. So then in 2004, 2003 I became a life coach. 2004, 2005 I studied NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, became a master trainer, master practitioner, Erickson hypnosis.
Oh, you went into hypnotherapy too?
I did that too, yeah. So, but not the clinical one. It's only the Erickson one.
You know Louise Nonweller? You should talk to her. I've interviewed.
No,
do you believe
in
your training that hypnosis is mental surgery that can accomplish in a shorter period of time what repetition through tapes or anything else, whether you're sleeping or not, that hypnosis helps you accomplish, get from point A to point B faster? Or do you think NLP does, or do you need a combination of all?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. It's like a car. A car doesn't just run on tires, or just doesn't run just on fuel. Or
great metaphor.
Yeah, so it is a combination that needs to work in harmony. So even if you have the best car, the Ferrari, without fuel, it's not going to work. So I am a big fan of hypnosis because, as you know, it surpasses the critical faculty, and we get to the deep-seated blockages so much faster, and also without needing necessarily to go back into the past. Some love going back into the past. I did love going back into the past. I asked my mom a lot about my past because I had it completely blanked out. I could not remember anything before the age of 10. Now that was telling as well. And I love discovering that. But again, I had a very safe childhood. So if you had someone who had experienced abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, for them it might not be safe. They might not choose to go back into the past.
Yeah.
So hypnosis helps to uncover the deeper blocks without having them to go through their trauma again. I believe hypnosis works beautifully with, so I like to work on 3 levels, you know, so there's the cognitive level, obviously, then there's the emotional level, and then there's the mental level, and the spiritual level. So hang on, let me do that again. So if you look at blockages, let me look at it from a different viewpoint. If you look at blockages, there's 4 areas of blockages. So there's the spiritual blockages, the emotional blockages, and the mental blockages, and they manifest in physical blockages. So if we don't have enough money in our lives to trade or to pay for training, that is a physical blockage. That is the result of a mental and or spiritual and or emotional blockage. So we might have had a bad experience with money where money equals pain, and then we don't want to have money around. So then we create this physical blockage around money so that we don't have money in our life. So that meaning as soon as money comes in, we get rid of it, spending it, losing it in the markets, whatever it is that we create, because money is so scary and painful, and that stuff runs in our unconscious. And I like using hypnosis for these kind of blockages. It's just it's easier on the trader. Yeah.
So I mean, you come from a completely different angle, a holistic approach to coaching people. You know, you are a life coach that trades. So it's interesting. Are these the things that you do with your clients and members and people that follow you, is that you take them through all of these different processes, not just showing them trading techniques, but having them hold up the mirror and learn about themselves?
Look, in Australia, we are technically not allowed to teach without a license. It's a very gray area at the moment where they say you're allowed to teach technique without giving advice. I find it a little bit scary because, I mean, how can you talk about the markets without talking about the setup? eventually it will slip out. And if F.A.C.E wants to get you, they are going to get you. So I stay completely out of teaching technique. I leave that to people like, I don't know, Tony Sycamore, you know, people who have a license and who are qualified. I know Tony's going to be on your show, which is amazing. You'll love him.
Okay.
So I leave that to those kind of people, and I prefer to team up with them because they have the licenses, and the license is like $2,000 a month or something ridiculous.
Yeah, my gosh, I didn't know Australia had a rule like that you can't even talk about setups.
I'm just
you can get around that by saying it's for educational purposes.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just really careful because I know if F.A.C.E wants to get you, then they will, and I'm not risking that. So I decided to focus solely on mindset, on the emotional stuff. Also because I love it, and yeah, I think it's hard to do both. So what I do with my traders at first is I do a total assessment. As you said, I come from very many different angles because we human beings, we are very versatile. So first I do an assessment of what is your behavioral profile. So I'm not talking about personality, I'm talking about behavioral preferences. And that's what we call eDisc. I'm an eDisc trained person, coach.
Okay.
So eDisc goes into behavioral preferences. How do we respond to challenges? How to respond to conflict? Where we are at in our lives? Do we have conflict in our life, or is everything congruent? If we have an incongruence in our lives, that will impact on our trading, right? So this is the first assessment that I do. The second assessment I do is I look at the 6 core needs. As you know, the Tony Robbins one, I love them because a lot of traders look for certainty in their lives, or most human beings look for certainty in their lives. They can look for certainty in a resourceful way or in an unresourceful way. So I look at how do the 6 core needs play out in my trader's life at the moment. Do they need to be...
Yeah, that's great because, you know, what I forgot who said it, you know, men lead lives in quiet desperation. Robert Proctor says that so many people are risk averse, Mandi, that they're really just hoping to make it from this side to the end of their life safely.
Yeah, exactly. Now the question is, why is that so? And so once I have identified or really solidly assessed my trader and know where they're at in all areas of their life and what their makeup is in terms of behavioral preferences. So if I have a trader who is, let's say a high D person, you know, high D in terms of disc, so they're dominant, they're the go-getters. I need to work with them very differently than I have someone who's a high I, who is for whom it is very important to be liked and who are very people-oriented rather than fact and figures-oriented.
Yeah,
so I need to know that
they're the ones always seeking approval. Like, look at that great call I made, and boy, did you see what I did in the euro? Those people.
Exactly those people. And for me to understand where they're at, I'm the last person who can judge anyone. Really, I have no reason to judge anyone. So for me, it's a completely judgment-free zone. I always say that to my traders. It's like, be open and honest so I know what to do with you and how to work with you and how to empower you and help you to be the best version of yourself. So when we have, for example, a high D trader, and they are also high I, they are very well suited for short-term trading, for scalping. I love scalping, it's so me, but extremely bad at long-term holding. Whereas when you have someone who's a high C and a lower D, they can't do short-term. They need to think things through. They are very suited for longer-term trading. So all of this information I get through my assessments. And I see if I have a trader who has been trained in short-term trading and I see that their behavioral preferences is longer-term trading. I know I need to send them to one of the educators to teach them And I say, look, try this out, try it on and see how you feel with that kind of trading. You don't have emotional problems. It's just you're driving the wrong car for, like, you know, you're driving a sexy AMG SLK 63 Black Series on the beach. You need a sturdy four-wheel drive here, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, so once I have done.
What a great interview. And so, yeah, what would you say, and I know you can't pigeonhole it, is the number one issue that most people come to you with that you have to resolve?
It depends on which level of trader I work with. So if it is retail traders, it's definitely, I'm not disciplined and patient, fix me. When I work with institutional traders, bank traders, prop traders, hedge fund managers, very different story. Most of them want to stay private, and they're extremely private, so I prefer not to talk about them if that's okay.
That's
just
fine,
respect
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
but so
go ahead.
But with most retail traders, so let me give you an insight into what makes one trader successful and the other one not. Would that be useful?
Sure.
I can pigeonhole that. So,
okay.
And I actually can, I think, even share slides. Let me do that. Oops, I just need to move that over here. Voila. So that's from a training that I ran before. So where is it? So when we look at human beings in terms of being screwed up as we grow up in childhood, and as I mentioned before, my brother is the one who is the successful one, and I was always the one who was not seen as a successful one, but the sweet little one, right? The one who has compassion, who understands people. And so when we look at family dynamics, usually the older one, and I'm generalizing here, okay, it can be different in individual situations, but usually the older person, the older sibling, is the one that's what we're calling an overperforming dysfunction. And the dysfunction can be on a scale from 0 to, let's say, 5. And so 5 is extremely dysfunctional, and 0 is close to being functional. So the overperforming dysfunction is a perfectionist, judges others, super organized, intolerant of making mistakes. And so everything that you see on the slide now, they don't like strong emotions, so they're cut off from their emotions. They're extremely self-focused. And that's the very thing that makes them super successful. Makes them usually pretty bad husbands, though, because they have no access to their emotions. And these are the traders who don't need to do the work that I would do with most other traders. Like, they don't need to do meditation. They don't need to understand their emotions, because these guys, they perform, they make the millions of dollars. So
if it's a male with these qualities, and a wife is looking for a great divorce settlement, this is their candidate.
Yeah, exactly. Look for those guys. Now, I can also describe what kind of wife they are looking for. So we can handle all of that. It's humans are beautiful, very predictable. Yes. And I can also tell you at what stage they're going to divorce and trade up to the next younger model. So, and you know, this is not being judgmental. This is those guys. They are also they have been brought up like that. Yes. You also have to remember that they are kind of victims in the whole thing as well, because I see a lot of super successful traders who are empty inside. And this is what I work with them, the emptiness. I have everything. I have the cars, the house, I have the women, I have everything. And I feel so alone.
Wow. Yeah. So, wow. What an interesting profession you have, Mandi.
I just
and what
love
a
it
service. Yeah, and what a service you're performing. I mean, all these things I think are a lot more important than knowing what a falling wedge or rising wedge is or head and shoulders top. So go ahead.
Well, the interesting
what do you want
thing
to
is,
wrap it with?
Oh, wrap it? You only gave me 30 minutes. Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's fine. But you know, it's fine. In fact, go as long as you like.
No, I'm happy to wrap it up with this one. So then you look at the flip side. So this is who I used to be. I used to be the younger sibling. And because my brother was the overperforming, the only way I had to be in my family dynamics was to be the underperforming. So I was the typical, I can't be disciplined and patient, what's wrong with me? Victim.
Yeah.
So very, very emotional drama. And so I didn't know all of this. So in a nutshell, if you are underperforming, in order to move towards functional, we never will be perfectly in the middle, right? But it's just moving towards a scale of 1 or 2, and then you're doing fine. You can perform in your trading, in your relationships equally. So if you are underperforming, you're extremely emotional, you don't have any boundaries in place with people, other humans, hence you can't take your losses as well. Because people who have boundaries in place with other people, healthy boundaries, they also can take their losses really easily. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is.
And they're usually doormats because they don't know their emotions. They don't know what their needs are. They live up to complete other people's needs and to satisfy other people's needs, but they don't know what they need, and hence they can't perform in trading because they live in an emotional soup that is not conducive to successful trading. So what I do with these guys, surprise, surprise, I teach them how to keep performance statistics because they will have no structure, they will hate structure, their life is a mess, and I teach them how to have a sorted, organized life, teach them structure in their life, teach them performance statistics so that their emotions are being balanced out with facts and figures. So when they have the fear of, so when they're in a losing trade, they can then shift from feeling really bad and hurt and angry to what are my numbers saying? So they have something to shift their focus to. On the other hand, we also have to do healing work with their emotions as well, which I also do. So very much what Denise Schall does as well. She does a lot of healing work with emotions. I highly respect her. And with the overperforming, Denise Schall, S-H-U-L-L.
Oh, yes, I know Denise.
Wendy, yeah, she's amazing. So I really respect her. And Steve Ward. So you asking who was defining in my trading career? Steve Ward. I adore this man. Amazing guy, super kind. And he was a defining factor in my trading. So with the overperforming ones, I introduce emotions because they don't know what their emotions are. And then they can balance out and become good husbands as well and don't have the need to replace external to define themselves. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so that's just a tiny little bit of what I'm doing.
You want to show your website, Mandi, and pass on some contact information besides your Twitter handle, so that I know that you could probably work on me for about a year. So the best way is what, at mpx_trader, or is there a web address?
So my website, sorry, is really bad. Oh, funny enough, it's Tony here. My website is really bad because I built it myself and I never have time to actually get this thing to update to, the funky websites that we have nowadays. But I think the content is pretty good. I put a lot of content on my site that I want to have really high quality content on my site. Okay. So I hope that makes up for it looking not so good.
And
that's my website.
It does. What's the web address?
Sorry, it's tradingpsychology.com.au.
Okay. Mandy,
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure, and you opened my. I learned some things about myself today, so I really did, and I think you're doing great work to people, because what good is money if you're not happy?
Yeah,
Right?
and
You know.
more than that, feeling lonely and
Yeah.
all those level of emotions. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what a great mission you have, and I wish you success, that your work touches thousands upon thousands of people, so
Thank
that
you so much.
what they think is an issue, which is just money, you help them discover what will bring that to them, along with having some contentment in their life. So congratulations, my trading warrior sister, and your vision and your mission, and I am very happy that I met you, and I'd love to talk to you again down the road.
I am so looking forward to that, and thank you so much for having me on your show, and it's a total privilege for me.
Oh, thank you so much, Mandy. I'm glad that I found you on Twitter. I'm grateful to Twitter because I found you there, and we'll edit the interview and produce it, and I'll drop it on Twitter for you and retweet it later on today.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you, Mandy.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye, Mandy, and thank you, F.A.C.E. Good hunting the rest of the day. Tomorrow, investing.com will be streaming us. We're going to have Jim Welsh here tomorrow. So above all, just after listening to Mandy, it reminds me of my favorite expression. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And I'll see all you warriors tomorrow. Adios.